Welcome to South East Today. I'm Polly Evans.
And I'm Rob Smith. Tonight's top story.
Desperately seeking justice, the Kent man infected with hepatitis C from contaminated blood in the 1980s.
It's become a life of sickness, illness.
A Kent man who was infected with hepatitis C from contaminated blood products in the 1980s says he wants those responsible to be held to account for ruining his life. Steve Dymond from Broadstairs was one of tens of thousands of people who were affected by the contaminated blood products that were imported from America.
It's the biggest treatment scandal in NHS history, and as Leanne Rinnie reports, this week a High Court judge is to chair a public inquiry into what happened and why.
The discovery of factor VIII was one of the most dramatic advances in post-war medicine. Haemophiliacs could at last look forward to living a relatively normal life.
30 years ago, Steve Dymond was given treatment that was meant to improve his life. He had no idea it was contaminated with hepatitis C, a blood virus that can cause life-threatening damage to the liver.
It's become a life of sickness, illness, worry, anxiety.
At the time when Steve was diagnosed with hepatitis C, he and his wife were trying to have children.
Within 48 hours we had a letter from the consultant saying they could no longer keep us on the programme and they were terminating the IVF. So it was the end of having children, yes.
Steve is a haemophiliac, which means his blood can't clot properly. In the 1980s, he was given this product, known as factor VIII, after injuring his hand in the garden. It came from high-risk donors like prison inmates in the US who sold their blood for just a few dollars at a time. Many were infected with hepatitis C and HIV. More than 4,500 haemophiliacs like Steve were infected with hepatitis C in the 1970s and 80s, and more than 1,000 people were injected with what were then called AIDS antibodies, or HIV. In the following decades, almost 3,000 people have died as a result of the contaminated treatment they received.
The government cannot plead ignorance of the risk. In 1982, the Health Minister, Tony Newton, admitted his suspicion that haemophiliacs could contract AIDS from contaminated factor VIII.
People affected by the scandal have been fighting for answers from the government for decades, but it was only last year the Prime Minister agreed to a full public inquiry.
There are certainly many unanswered questions on the decisions taken by the Department of Health at the time, on the actions of other actors as well, such as the pharmaceutical companies, and we really want to see this inquiry get to the truth of what happened.
Steve says getting the truth is still important, but says living with hepatitis C has already destroyed his life. He's had one tumour removed from his liver, and there's no guarantee the cancer won't come back. Leanne Rinnie, BBC South East Today.